Today's video, we're diving in talking all about sway controllers, sway bars, whatever you want to call it. We're going to dive in telling you why you should use one if you're using a bumper pull type of RV. And we're going to talk about some of the safety aspects, and we're going to give you some tips and tricks on how to properly use one of these, because let's just face it, when you pick up a trailer or something from the dealership, they don't really go through and show you exactly what you need to do to get this thing set up properly. Let's dive into this video right now. All right, so you just bought your first RV and the dealership threw a sway controller on it, and you're asking yourself, what is this thing? Well, today we're going to talk about what it is. So a sway controller usually looks just like this. It's going to have some type of bar where you can tighten this down, but essentially all it is a metal bar inside a sleeve of either ceramic or a plasticky fill-in material, and it creates friction. So when you're going down the road and your trailer has that sway to it, what this is going to do is tighten up this link right here between the vehicle and your trailer, and it kind of mitigates it from swaying as much. This isn't going to be the end-all be-all for trailer sway, but this is definitely going to help out and make your ride a lot safer when going down the highway. If you've never pulled a trailer before that has like a bumper pull type system to it, there is a lot of movement, a lot of sway is what they call it. But essentially, when you're passing big rigs, you're hitting a big patch of wind or something like that, your trailer is gonna be moving all over the place. And it's because the trailer's so far back, the connection point is well behind the vehicle. When you have a fifth wheel set up, that fifth wheel attachment is right over the rear axle of the vehicle, so there's not as much sway. The connection point isn't so far back with a fifth wheel design. But with one of these, we're gonna have to use one of these to mitigate that sway the best that we can. We're gonna dive in talking about different ways that you can do that. So let's get this thing installed and we're gonna show you what we're talking about. So just for demonstration purposes, I haven't taken the jack and everything up. I just have it hooked up here just for demonstration purposes. Don't hound me in the comments section for that. So essentially, to hook this thing up, you're typically gonna have some pins, you know, that retain it once it's on. So you're gonna take those out first. And then essentially it just has two little ball joint style couplings. So on your hitch assembly, if you have a low distribution hitch, and I don't have the bars installed or anything right now either, so don't hound me for that, but we're just showing you how to do the sway controller today. So you'll have like a little mini ball on your hitch, and you'll also have a ball connected back here to the frame of your trailer. So what you're gonna do is take this bar and loosen it up. See how that slides freely? And then you can connect it to the ball in the back. So if you notice, I have both of these greased up because that is friction points. You're gonna wear out your controller if you don't grease that up. And then what we're gonna do is put the pins in facing the rear. All right, that way they're not gonna move out or anything like that. But these kind of swivel around anyway, so those are not gonna fall out. And do the same thing for the rear. So mine's really close, so I go from the bottom and then I kind of pull it back like that. So it's not gonna go anywhere. Let's get you a little closer view of this one. All right, so it's connected back there too. And right now it's loose. All right, I haven't put any tension on the sway controller yet. I remember when I picked this up from Camping World, the lady came out and done a demonstration, and she's like, okay, crank it down till it's tight. And then she's like, then back it off like half a turn or something like that. And I'll just tell you right now, half a turn backing this thing off just took off all that tension and all that potential sway control that we were trying to achieve. And I just remember going down the highway when I got this thing, and it was just fishtailing all over the place, because out here in Albuquerque, it's super windy most of the time. So that wind was just pushing me all over the place. So I got to messing with this on just a few camping trips and stuff, and I got to tightening it down like all the way. Like I'm talking to where this thing is just really tight. And I noticed when I was going down the highway, even in high winds, it wasn't moving near as much. So I knew something was happening here. And I noticed the tighter this thing was, the better it performed. You might be asking yourself, does it wear out faster? Well, I don't really think so, because these things are designed to take a lot of friction. And just over the summer, I've had this thing since February, and we've probably put, I would say, 8,000 miles on this thing. And I haven't noticed it wearing down any. Well, I will tell you, it is kind of noisy. So that's kind of one of the downsides, but hey, I'm gonna take safety over this thing being noisy, and I don't really care when I pull into a campground if this thing's making squeaks. And it's not really a squeak, it's kind of like a, I can't even describe what the noise is, but it's just a little irritating. But hey, other campers and stuff that are using this right, they're gonna know what that is. So don't be afraid to actually tighten this thing down, because I would definitely take safety over the noise. So yeah, that's my biggest tip there, is just don't be afraid to crank this thing down. And even tighten up the bottom screw here. This is like the most common sway controller. So you can tighten this down too, and then tighten this thing down. And that's gonna give you the best potential sway control. And I know that might not be the correct way to do it. I haven't even looked at the manufacturer's instructions on how to do this. Well, mainly because Camping World didn't give it to me. But anyway, you know, just go out and try what works for you on your trailer setup. And, you know, using the half turn might work for you. You know, your truck might not be getting pushed around as much as mine does, but I'm telling you, tightening this thing down for me, that was the biggest help that I've done with this whole trailer setup. It definitely helped out the most. And my wife even thanked me for coming up with something that fixed it, because before it was kind of scary. The high wind would pick up, the trailer, the big rigs would go by, and this thing was just all over the place. And then after messing around with this, all that went away, and you know, the very minimal sway now. So that's how you hook it up. Just some things to be cautious of with using a sway controller. You're not gonna be able to back up as much. I mean, if you're just pulling into a campsite and you're not gonna have to jackknife the trailer in to get it into the spot or make a really sharp turn, then you're gonna be okay to back up with this thing. But if you're gonna be making some super sharp turns, even forward, be cautious that you have this thing hooked up, because it does have a limit to it. And once it's at that limit, it's just gonna start breaking it apart, because this thing isn't that solid. It just creates friction. So don't think this thing is gonna withstand everything you put at it, because it could bend it, it could break it, it has plastic components inside it. So just be cautious of that. Make sure you're not making super tight turns. My suggestion is, like what I do when I get to my campsite, is I go ahead and get out before I try to make my back, and I just loosen this thing up. Loosen it all the way up to where it's just free spinning. And then I'm gonna be able to make my back, still making sure I'm not gonna be too sharp with the angles. And if I'm gonna be sharp with the angles, I'll just go ahead and take this thing off completely. So guys, hopefully you like this video. Just a really quick video on how to set up your sway controller. And mainly this is for beginners if you've never used a sway controller or really know what it is. Hopefully this is gonna help you guys out, and it's gonna help you be safer out there on the highway. Guys, if you like these kind of videos, stay tuned for more. Also hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in future videos. Thanks for watching.